Hey, this is Eric. I am back with another collection of vinyl to talk about. I got a stack here. This stuff all falls into the world of folk, country rock, cowpunk, that kind of stuff. So some of these artists you might know, some you might not know. A lot of these are things that you're definitely not going to hear a lot of people talking about. So starting off, Hoytaxton, Fearless. Now Hoytaxton was an actor. You might have seen him in things like Disorganized Crime or probably in Gremlins. This album I have because the last song on side 2 is called The Devil. It's a great under 2-minute track that's almost like a garage rock tune. It was written for and used in a film called Who Fears the Devil, which was an early 70s horror film that not many people know, that's kind of about a print that's reportedly not very good, but it's about a musician who fights evil monsters in the mountains. Very Lovecraftian. Anyways, got me into Hoytaxton. He's got a lot of great stuff in his back catalog, so check him out. And next I have another Hoytaxton album. This is My Griffin Is Gone. Yeah, another solid folk rock, country-ish 70s album. I think this came out in 69, I want to say. Somewhere around there. It's on Columbia. Anyways, well worth checking out if you want something a little bit different. Now, in the early 1970s in England, they had what they called the pub rock movement, which was young bands playing in pubs, and they would play 3 or 4 hours a night, and they would play 50s rock and roll and country covers. And a lot of musicians that you may know, people like Elvis Costello and Joe Strummer, Captain Sensible from The Damned, got their start in these pub rock bands. Nick Lowe was in Brinsley Schwarz, which most people know his work. Anyways, in America, you had a corresponding movement, which was this early 70s outlaw country related movement, the revival of Westren Swing. And the two biggest bands that were part of that movement were Commander Cody and Lost Planet Airmen. This is Tales from the Ozone. This is an album that doesn't have their best known song, There Is No Hot Rod Lincoln, on here, which itself was a cover. But this got Minnie the Moocher and just honky tonk and kind of bar band stuff. Once again, that Western Swing revival. These guys were also from my hometown, Ann Arbor, but they moved to San Francisco. So they were part of that movement. And this is kind of a movement with young bands playing high energy rock and roll in bars, and that kind of helped lead to punk rock. The other band in America, at least, that was the biggest part of the Western Swing revival, and I've got 3 of their albums, Asleep at the Wheel. A lot of covers of classic jazz standards, Route 66, Miles and Miles to Texas, which is Western Swing, which was a 30s style of music. That was the standard. You can see I got that one for $2. I got this one for $2. This one is just called The Wheel. Sleep at the Wheel is still going today. These are the albums from the 70s. Willie Nelson did an album with them several years ago. They did a Bob Wills tribute album with a bunch of guests. That's really cool. This is Collision Course. All of these you can get for like $2 or $3. Great. Throw them on the record player when you have a party and you want something that's listenable, but not not going to send people screaming from the room. All right. So next we're going to fast forward into the 80s. I spent a summer in probably 1987 or 88 at my grandparents', and they did not have MTV, which, at the time was a big deal. They did, however, have country music television, and I saw these guys every single day with a song on here called Texas in 1880. This is their first album. You can see there's a sticker. I think this is a former record station or radio station record. Got it for $1, so throw it on the record player. Check it out. But Texas in 1880s, great rock and roots rock song. This is from a time period when the country music industry was kind of in a lull. This was after the 70s outlaw spike. The 80s were not kind to the country music industry. There was a lot of polished poppy stuff. This was before Garth Brooks really came and revitalized that industry. But Foster and Lloyd, which was roots rocky, kind of folky, they were one of the bands that got a shot. And in my opinion, they at least had one great song. So Weirdos from Nashville. Webb Wilder. It came from Nashville. This one is credited to Webb Wilder and the Beatniks. He also had his band, the Nash Vegans. If you've ever seen the Peter Bogdanovich film, The Thing Called Love, he has a role in it. He plays the motel operator. This is a fun album. all of his stuff is fun. It's just kind of rootsy rock. He does Devil's Right Hand, great Steve Earle song on here. He's also covered classic garage rock and blues songs. Well worth checking out. Cool looking record. I dig him. I dig his whole embracing of who he is and not willing to necessarily be molded by the Nashville establishment. Okay, so going to California, you definitely had more of a country rock vibe, and this is Thin White Rope. This is also a dollar bin find from a radio station somewhere. These guys were very kind of deserty. Just check them out. For at the very least, that cover's worth $1. But this is a band I really like. My friend Heath turned me on to them. Wish I could find more of their stuff. Country-esque desert rock, and eventually I'll probably be talking about the band Naked Prey, who were very similar to these guys. All right. Back to Nashville. When you think cowpunk, Jason and the Scorchers. This is the only Jason and the Scorchers album I have on LP. I've got some cassettes. They were mixing country and the energy of punk rock in Nashville, and caught some ears, but maybe not enough. So definitely part of the history of cowpunk, or what we now know as alt country. So definitely worth checking out. So for me, the biggest introduction to alt country or cowpunk of the 80s were records on the NYGMA label. This is NYGMA Variations 1. This is a compilation of kind of cowpunk, post-punk, country-ish, a little bit of hard rock, a little bit of ska, all kinds of bands on here. Screaming Sirens, Jet Black Berries, Naked Prey, Tex and the Horseheads, Greg Sage from The Wipers, Chris D from The Flesh Eaters and his Divine Horsemen, Rain Parade, The Pandoras, the 60s garage revival band, The Leaving Trains, Green on Red, Game Theory, which was a great kind of power pop band, 45 Grave, Red Cross, TSOL, lots of great stuff on here. You can usually, or at least you could at one point find this, for under $5. 2 albums, totally worth it. A lot of great stuff on here. And there's a great shot on the back where they have the covers for all the albums that this material came from. Boy, I wish I had some of those. I do have some of them, but there's a lot more that I wish I had. All right. Don't Shoot. This is a compilation of bands from the California cowpunk era. You have Danny and Dusty. You've got Julie Christensen, who was in Divine Horsemen. You've got the band of Black Ranchette, Clay Allison, and the Romans. Good album, cool stuff. There's a couple more of compilation albums from this era that I would like to get my hands on, which I have yet to score copies of. And then finally, Hell Comes to Your House Part 2. This has the Joneses, the Mau Maus, Blood in the Saddle, this band I really like, Tex and the Horseheads, the Minutemen, Screaming Sirens, and Lotus Lame and the Lame Flames. The first, Hell Comes to Your House, was mainly horror punk kind of stuff. And this one is a lot more roots rock country stuff. Something that did not get a reissue on CD in the States that was easy to find at all during the CD reissue era. So you had to get an LP. There is a cassette tape out there that has Part 1 and Part 2 on it. I do not have a copy of that at this point. So these are all records that I had to collect over years and years. Some of them I happened upon, some of them I had to seek out. But all good stuff, worth checking out. A lot of it's not shown around, a lot of it's not talked about. So in kind of the underground circles, this is probably going to cost you some money. But those Asleep at the Wheel records were $2 a pop. That Foster and Lloyd record was $1. So you never know what you're going to find. If you dig these, hit a like. Questions, comments, leave them below. And hoping to go to a record show this weekend. So hopefully next weekish early, I'll have another one of these videos with whatever I happen to pick up. Catch y'all later.